Hey, Streetwalkers. I just wanted to pop in real quick and give a shout out and a thank you to Stephen B. on Twitter. His handle is at KerryKittles, KerryKittles. Stephen hooked me up with some tickets to go see Kelsey Ballerini last Monday. How cool is that? I think it was very, very sweet of him, and I think everybody should follow him on Twitter, at KerryKittles, and maybe he'll throw some tickets your way. For some reason, sometimes he ends up with extra tickets to different events in Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio areas. Even if you're not in those areas, give that dude a follow, because maybe he'll have extra tickets to something in your area. And also, he's a super nice guy. And now, back to the show. I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Brian Maxwell. Brian is the host of the Maxwell's House podcast, which is just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Brian is also good friends with the hosts of and an occasional guest on the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast on Kevin Smith's Smodcast podcast network. In this episode, we talk about weight loss, Christmas cards, birthday gifts. Brian gives us some life advice. He tells some stories about how he got to play hockey with Kevin Smith. And then we talk about his podcasts. His first one was Will You Sign My Cast? And then later on, he started Maxwell's House. We also talk a little bit about Star Wars and why our generation is so angry. Fair warning, guys. This might be the most explicit and not safe for work episode in the history of my show. So, as somebody once said, if you have little ears, go see a doctor. But if you have small children near you, you might want to listen to this at some other time. But you definitely want to listen to it because it is hilarious. Maybe the funniest laugh out loud episode, again, in the history of this show. So enjoy, guys. Tell 'em Steve Dave frequent guest and Maxwell's House podcast host, Brian Maxwell.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Brian Maxwell, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. Welcome to Fascination Street. How are you doing today, sir?
Man, thanks for having me. I'm pretty good. I'm high. I'm down like 4 pounds this week. I'm about to gain like 5 pounds. I'm grilling out some hamburgers later, so neither here nor there. But as of right now, I'm down 4 pounds, so it's probably the best it's going to be for today. So, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Now, did you say you're high and down 4 pounds? Or are those two separate things? Or are you high because you're down 4 pounds? Or are you high because you were dabbing earlier?
Yeah, no, I'm high on marijuana. Down 4 pounds because I'm just actively active. I'm exercising more, walking and shit. I've got this big concert coming up in what the hell is today? Whatever today is, in a few days from what today is, there's a big concert, this band that sort of is my lifeblood, my heart and soul, J. Roddy Walston and The Business. If you've never heard of them, can't encourage you enough. Get on your Google box or your DuckDuckGo if you're super into your privacy and whatnot, and search J. Roddy Walston and The Business. Change your life forever. They're a phenomenal band. I haven't gotten to see them in a while, and when I go see them, I do a lot of moving, a lot of sweating, a lot of dancing, and I'm a huge, huge man and very out of shape. And when I go to these shows and I do all this moving and this sweating and this dancing, when it's all over, like in the moment, you really don't feel it. It's kind of like a runner, like you're running and you're running and you're running like a motherfucker was chasing you, is going to like murder rape you or whatever. And you're running and you're running. And you get away and you stop running and all that adrenaline's over and you can't breathe no more and you're like puking and shit. And like that's sort of how I get after a J-Rod concert. So I told myself this time I'm going to try to get into better shape. And I refuse to eat better. Like I enjoy eating carbs, like bread fucking is delicious. And people are like, man, you want to lose weight? Stop eating bread. And I was like, fuck, man, I think I'm going to die. So I just keep eating all this goddamn bread. So I started walking, and I got a weight bench in here, lifting some weights. The cool spin on it is you say shit like, I want to live longer for my kids, and so I'm trying to get, not me, man. I'm trying to get in shape so I don't throw up after this J. Roddy Walston in the business concert.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of reasons why people do healthier activities, and that sounds like a good one to me, man.
And not for nothing, like if you're out there and you're like me and you've always sort of wanted to lose weight or get in shape, whatever the fuck it is, my advice to you, don't do a diet. Don't listen to what works and what doesn't work, because everybody's body is different. Just try to eat a little less, exercise a little more. And if you can consistently do that for, say, like 6 months to a year, like if you can not eat a dessert, say just don't eat dessert for 3 months. Just start there. If you can do that one thing, then worry about the rest of it. I think the mistake that all of us larger people who enjoy eating, the mistake we tend to make is we read the thing and we're like, fuck this keto diet. Like, that's how to do it. I'm going to stop eating this and I'm going to only eat this. And in a year, I'm going to fucking look like Tom Brady and Giselle Bundchen. And it's not reality. You can't do it. Like, live your life, have fun, try to eat less, try to exercise more. Don't make New Year's resolutions and shit like that. If you're going to fucking do something, just do it. I feel the same way about birthdays and Christmases after you're 18. Like, suck dick. Don't give me Christmas presents and birthday presents after I'm 18. I'm not going to fucking give you one. I'm not going to keep a goddamn running list of everybody that's ever fucking bought me. It's bad enough that these goddamn Christmas cards come in the mail. And not for nothing, if you're listening and you send me Christmas cards, thank you. I love getting them in the mail. But I get these fucking Christmas cards in the goddamn mail, and they're clever and whatnot. I'm like, but now, like, I'm in this position where I'm supposed to send you one back. And I'm not going to fucking do it. I'm not getting caught up in this bullshit ass, whatever the fucking group that got together and decided that we're going to save the fucking postal service by making everybody send goddamn cards through the United States mail every fucking Christmas. You're slowing down people from getting their bills. You're slowing down people from getting other things that they need in the mail, Amazon packages. Stop sending goddamn Christmas cards, unless you're sending them to me, in which case I love getting them, and thank you for taking the time to do that. You guys are super awesome.
All right, well, a lot to unpack there. So,
it is if you can get it in the goddamn mail on time. Bunch of fucking Christmas cards holding shit up. That's how you always get that goddamn thanks for ordering that vital pipe that you need to fix your sink so your fucking floor doesn't rot out and your family doesn't have to move into some goddamn third-rate trailer down the fucking street. But it's delayed 6 days because somebody wanted to send you this X-rated Jay and Silent Bob Christmas card, which was fucking hilarious, by the way. But I digress. I'm sorry. Taking over your show here. Apologies.
No way, man. That's why you're on. That is why you're on. I did want to say that I agree with you about the diet thing. You know, just do whatever works for you. That being said, I've been mostly no sugar, no grain for about a year, and I've lost 40 pounds.
It'll do it. Like, if you can cut out bread, that alone will do it. I always had a fear of diabetes because my dad died down a foot. My grandfather died down 2 feet. Diabetes is just like a thing that, like, we also have, it's hard to say, Alzheimer's, what the fucking dementia. We get the dementia in my family, and people are like, you ain't worried about that? Nah, if I get that, I won't fucking know it. It's fine. So I don't stress about that one. But if, like, somebody cut off my goddamn feet, I would know that. I'd, like, get up to go to the bathroom and I would fall down onto the floor because there's no base to my body any longer. I would need a chair to get around and stuff. I'm sure I could fucking live life. I know people in wheelchairs who do much greater things than I could ever do. And that's just in the physical sense. We're not even talking about how smart they are. Like, they play basketball better than I can, and they don't have legs. It's not to disparage a wheelchair. I'm just saying I would know it. So I don't want to have diabetes. So when I turned 30, which would be roughly 9 years ago, I stopped drinking sugar drinks, Kool-Aids, Cokes, sweet teas, and shit like that. Every so often I'll have something with dinner and whatnot, but most often I'll just have coffee with some of that pink sweetener shit, which I guess gives you cancer. But fuck, man, what doesn't give you cancer? And not for nothing, I feel like if I got cancer right now, I'm not even sure that the earth would live longer than I would with like Deadpool type cancer. Like polar vortexes is killing everybody up north. I know, like up north, they're like, fuck the south. But pretty soon, y'all ain't gonna have no choice but to come down here. It's so cold in the north. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, they had some negative 44 degrees last week up there.
As a matter of fact, forget everything I just said. Eat more bread. You guys are going to need to get fat. We're going to have to fatten up to stay alive. We've been thinking about this all wrong. We've been thinking we got to stay skinny to live longer. Fuck that. We got to get fat so we don't fucking freeze to death.
Let's take a lesson from the whale community.
Oh, don't do that. Have you ever seen those motherfuckers get beached? And a bunch of people just go up there like throwing buckets of water on them. Don't ever take advice from somebody who goes near the beach when they know good and hell well they ain't got no business being there. It's like them fish that jump into boats. You deserve to get eaten. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like fucking nature hasn't like adapted your dumb ass to stop jumping into the fucking boat? Dumb bastard ass fish.
So you said you stopped drinking sugary drinks, right?
Yes.
Now, I think the biggest tip that I've ever heard about losing weight is to just cut out that. I know there's people who they stop drinking soda and, they'll lose 20 pounds in 3 months, and that's the only thing they did different.
Oh, instantly. Yeah, if that's something that you can give, it wasn't that difficult for me because I don't hate water. Like, I can put some, like, that little lemonade mix or some of those fat-free fucking things. But I started drinking coffee. A lot of people can't do that. Like, with my kids, I'm very fortunate that they drink water. Like, they'll just drink water. You don't have to add shit to it. Found out a lot of people's kids, they fucking don't drink water. They refuse to drink it. They're like, fuck that shit. It tastes gross. And I'm like, how can it taste gross? Water don't taste like nothing, you dumb little motherfucker. Drink the fucking water. But their kids... like, they won't drink the water. So I'm very fortunate in that sense that cold glass of water is just as good to me as, like, a tall glass of Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, whatever fucking insane shit you're into. High C. Like, orange juice has a ton of fucking sugar in it. Like, everything that you drink has fucking sugar in it. Fake sugar, natural sugar, everything just has fucking sugar. So water, coffee, Powerade Zero. Those are my 3 go-tos right now. I feel like if I drank soda on a regular basis, I'd probably be another 50, 60 pounds heavier and definitely have diabetes.
Oh, like, sweet.
For sure I would have diabetes by now if I didn't stop drinking all of that shit. I'm very conscious about, like, my wife drinks the fucking shit like it's going out of style. It drives me insane. She weighs like 85 pounds, but it's like, it super concerns me. Like, you're going to get fucking diabetes if you keep drinking that shit. But at the same time, I'm not hey, this is something we're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it would suck if she got diabetes, like, but I could make some super cool, you don't have feet jokes. You know what I mean? Hey, leave me now, bitch. Where you going to run to? Nowhere. That's right. What are you going to do? You going to fight me off with them little nubs? It'd be a great relationship. But at the same time, like, I'm not sure how much, like, what if she lost her hands? Now I got to wipe her ass? Like, that changes your entire, like, I would do it. I love her. I would do it. I would wipe her ass till the day she died. But at the same time, like, that changes your sexual relationship forever. Because then you're having sex with somebody who's, you also wipe their ass. It's a different fucking dynamic, man.
Hopefully you're not doing those 2 things at the same time.
Some people probably are, man. The internet is a fucked up place. I deleted I didn't delete my Twitter account, but I deleted my Twitter off of my phone, like the app, because I noticed that when I go, like, I hit the little thing and I swipe my phone, put the code in, my thumb immediately, without me even thinking about it, goes to Twitter. Like, what's happening on Twitter. And I enjoy some of the things that I see on Twitter, like wrestling GIFs, Jiffies. Who fucking knows what they're called, man? Everybody will tell you a different story of what they're called. Animated fucking pictures of the internet. Those things. Like, I enjoy those wrestling ones and shit. I enjoy some people's tweets and whatnot. But I've found, like, lately, and even myself, this year actively, I'm changing the way that I live life, that I see life, that I talk about life. everything has to have a negative sort of connotation to it. You can't say, I saw this movie, it was all right. Like, I saw this movie, it sucked ass because of this one thing. Or you go to a restaurant 10 times and, like, you're never like, man, got some great service. Because nobody fucking cares. No one gives a shit you got great service, but fuck me, man. We'll tell everybody about the shitty service we got, and everybody then will comment with their shitty service. Yeah, man, last week I got this shitty thing. And then they're like, yeah, man, fuck that place and fuck those people. And these are like happy people that are in good places in their lives. And they just spend all day just fucking on this and fuck on that. And here's all the things that I don't like. It's very weird. Where in like the 90s, when I first got into like forums and message boards, like this is how I found Kevin Smith. For anybody listening who doesn't know who Kevin Smith is, filmmaker, made Clerks, Mallrats, all these movies. So he was a hero of mine. And he had this message board, this forum on the internet where you could go and you could discuss all things Kevin Smith because I loved Kevin Smith. And you could go find, like, say, a Nick Swardson forum. I saw this comedian, Nick Swardson. For those of you who don't know Nick Swardson, he's in a lot of Adam Sandler movies. He's in Grandma's Boy. He's awesome. So I found this Nick Swardson forum that's all about people who enjoy Nick Swardson. And I found out where he was going to be at in Nashville that day because he was like, hi, I'm Nick Swardson. People who like Nick Swardson, here is where Nick Swardson will be. And it used to be about finding these places in these communities where all of you were sort of like-minded and no one really shit on anything. Even the stuff you didn't enjoy, like say you saw Chasing Amy and it wasn't for you. You wouldn't go onto the Kevin Smith message board and put up a thread. Loved Clerks, loved Mallrats, Chasing Amy sucks dick. Because no one fucking cares. No one wants to hear you talk about the shit you don't like. We wanted to hear you talk about the shit you do like. Man, what'd you dig about the other two? Like, no one fucking cares that you didn't like Chasing Amy because it wasn't funny enough or it was too... No one fucking cares. Or cared, I should say. Now that's all they care about. No one wants to hear why you liked Clerks. No one wants to hear why you liked Mars. We just want to fucking break down Chasing Amy because we didn't like that. And all of the other people who didn't like Chasing Amy fucking, like, run to that fucking place. And before you know it, that community that used to be about discussing all of the things that we loved about this stuff that people were making or these places that we like to go or like whatever it was has now become a big pile of this is what I don't like. This is what I would like to see change. This is what I think should happen. This is why reboots are stupid or this is like fucking hell, man. Does nobody enjoy anything anymore? Like, I just decided that maybe we're just all too plugged in. Everybody is just too fucking plugged in. Like, right now, whoever's listening to this, right now, they're probably listening to it, but they're looking at their phone right now. They're checking Facebook. They're checking Twitter because they can't be bothered to spend 45 minutes not looking at what other people are doing. And I'm the worst at it. I left it on my computer. So I have to actively, like, go to my little Surface Pro here. I have to open the fucking thing up. I have to open the web browser. Like, I have to do all of those things. It's like 8 movements. Instead of looking at this fucking thing, like, when I'm at Walmart, I'm looking at Twitter. I'm at fucking the kids' bowling game. I got to check Twitter 12 times. I'm at the arcade with all these games. In between walking between fucking arcade machines, I'm checking Twitter. And it's just a bunch of negativity. And I think that I'm going to try to pull back on having a comment about every single thing. It seems like everybody has a comment about every single thing. It's a problem, I think. Social media is the worst thing that ever happened to people with mental health problems. I swear to God. Rant over.
All that being said,
question?
all that being said, Brian, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can follow me at Maxwell Classic. I'm on Facebook too. I have a page. You can search Bad Bordy or Brian Maxwell. I think it'll pop up. There's a little picture of me with The Simpsons. And if you send me a direct message, I will eventually get back to you. I'll talk to everybody unless you fucking send me a message that you hate me. I used to send messages back to those people. Again, actively changing the way that I live and see life. I just delete it, mute it. send that to the wayside. They tend to just stop sending them. It's really crazy how if you talk to people, they keep talking back. But if you just ignore them, they'll just stop talking to you. Who would have fucking known? I'm not going to be tweeting as much, I don't think. I used to tweet a lot of wrestling stuff, a lot of this, that, and the other. But I don't think I'm going to do that anymore, which is kind of a bummer, too, because I like to be plugged in with people. Like I said, especially with professional wrestling. I'm stupid for professional wrestling. I fucking love it. I get why people don't, because it's fucking silly and whatnot. But I personally love it, and I love to tweet all about it. But I don't know, man. It's impossible to get on Twitter and me not see what Donald Trump's doing today, or what R. Kelly did a month ago, or what some white kid wearing a hat at a protest was doing with some other asshole at a protest. And I'm like, man, I don't want to. How do you not see this stuff? How do you stay plugged into the world? Like, how do you not live in a bubble, but also not have to see all the nonsensical, worthless, quote unquote, news? Like, where can I know how much a box of cereal costs and who the president is without having to see a Fox News clip about some guy? You know, and I don't know that you can anymore. You used to have to be smart and fucking subscribe to the New York Times and like read shit. Now I don't know how you stay smart. I think you just gotta like lie like real fast and real hard and real confidently. I don't think you actually have to know shit anymore. You just make shit up and believe it, and other people are like, fuck, man. I don't know if that's true or not, so I'll just believe him.
Yeah, just say it confidently, and you will be believed.
I've been fed so much misinformation that made sense. You know what I mean? Like, you see it, and you go, fuck, that makes sense. This is fucked up. And then you get context 2 days later, and you're like, God damn it. I've been made a fool again. And I spent 2 days all amped up and angry with high blood pressure for what? For nothing. Nonsense, man. What happened to kittens? There used to be kittens all over the internet. Kittens and fake Star Wars news. Let's just go back to that. Fucking Disney bought Star Wars and ruined the goddamn internet. Jerks.
Transitioning a little bit from all of that lovely vitriol, the way that I first found you, and I'm assuming tens of thousands of other people first found you, is that you were a guest quite a few times on the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast. How did you get hooked up with those cats? And, you know, how did you find them? How'd they find you? And how did you make it onto the show so many times, besides being such a likable character?
It all stems from that Kevin Smith message board. I was on the message board forums, and there was a hockey tournament in Canada. And this was before, not necessarily before Twitter, because this was right around the time that Twitter was just starting. Kevin Smith had a Twitter, but he frequented the message board much more often than he did the Twitter page, until the forum became what essentially all of social media is now. And he said, fuck this, and shut it down. Like, I saw the progression of all these things, but it stemmed from that. There's this hockey tournament for charity happening in Canada, and Kevin had gotten real deep into Walter Gretzky documentaries and shit. Like, he's getting high and watching documentaries in his library and crying and shit. And then he gets into an Xbox game, the NHL, whatever the year was, NHL. And I had the game, and a few other cats had the game. And we were playing hockey together on the Xbox with Kevin Smith in these tournaments. And Walter Gretzky's dad is having this charity tournament up in Canada. And Kevin throws on the message board, I'll pay the entrance fee for 3 teams, which was like $350 or some shit like that. So it's like $1,000. He's like, I'm going to pay that. Whoever wants to come. When the teams fill up, that'll be what it is. And I posted on the forum, and I'd never interacted with Kevin before because I'd never tried, because it seemed weird. At this point in my life, my top goal was go to WrestleMania, go to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. If I could do those 2 things, like, that's bucket list for me. So the thought of actually conversing with Kevin Smith was mind-blowing to me. This dude's like a legit hero to me. He's the guy who looks like me, talks like me, sounds like me, doesn't give a shit like me. No one else is like that. You know what I mean? Like this is my guy. And I posted something like it's real corny. Well, I'm way down here in Nashville. I can't make it, but I'll donate some money for other people for like hotels and shit like that. You know, I'll throw $100 in or whatever, and we'll make everybody have a super good time. Be awesome. Like, this is great. You're paying these fees. I'd like to help out. In retrospect, it's this weird thing that I do. Like the band I was talking about earlier, J. Roddy Watson in the Business. I've hung out with them a bunch too. I have this ability to endear myself to people. I don't want to say it's fraudulent, but looking back on it, it wasn't completely out of the goodness of my heart that I wanted to donate money to this thing. I saw an opportunity where there's a good chance I'm going to get to talk to Kevin Smith right now. You know? So I say, like, I'll donate some money. And he said, fuck that. You should come. And I'm like mind blown. And I'm tripping out at this point. I'm poor. My wife and I are living in this 1-bedroom, tiny little place where you have to fucking pipe sunshine in. It's so far out in the country because that's all we could afford. We were fucking broke. We had a brand new tiny little baby. I looked at my wife and I said, this is happening right now. Look at this. I'm talking to Kevin Smith. Like, he just told me come to Canada and play hockey with him. And without even thinking about it, my wife said, well, you're going to do it. And I said, there's no way. One, I've never been on a plane. I've never been like anywhere. I've been like maybe 4 or 5 hours away from where I'm at in life at that moment. Never been on a plane, much less left the fucking country. So you're talking passports. You're talking thousands of dollars to, like, there's absolutely no way. And again, without thinking about it, she said, yeah, you are. Like, fuck that. Once in a lifetime, that's your hero. Are you kidding me? Like, the one thing you want to do is go to his comic book shop. Now you can go play hockey with him. That's insane. Go do it. So we went into what essentially became 4 years worth of debt for me to make this trip to Canada. And I get to Canada, I play hockey with Kevin Smith. And while we're playing hockey with Kevin Smith, not just in Canada, it becomes like these pickup games. I'm driving to New Jersey, 13 and a half, 14 hours one way, 14 hours back, like every 2 months. Whenever Kevin wants to play hockey, I'm driving to New Jersey. So I probably put in like fucking 5,000 miles over the next 3 or 4 years. And Brian Johnson and Walt Flanagan, which is 2/3 of the podcast, Tell 'em Steve Dave, they would be there. Ming Chen from Comic Book Men, he would be there, and we would all play hockey together. And I stood out because everyone else was from an hour or two away, maybe 4 hours away at the most. And some of them didn't make all of the games, right? Because that's a lot of money and travel and time. And I made every one. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I get to play hockey with Kevin Smith again. This is fucking insane. And I make all of these trips, and I befriended Brian Johnson because my wife at the time was very, very pregnant with our second child. And I'd made a trip to New Jersey to play hockey. And Brian knew that my wife was due to have a baby in the next week or so, like 5-6 days. And Walt found out about this, and he was so fascinated that I had come to New Jersey to play pickup hockey, like in shoes, like not rollerblades, not ice hockey. We're just running around in shoes playing ball hockey. He was so fascinated that I was there and that my wife wasn't filing for divorce. Like, he couldn't wrap his brain around it. So I think I just stood out more than other people, and fuck me, I'm loud and I don't give a shit to tell a good story. And not for nothing, I'm not fucked up with making the trip. I was there for the first live Tell 'em Steve Dave. I've made 7 or 8 trips to New Jersey. I was recently in town. I just go. No real plans in life. Ever since that first Canada trip, man, if a door opens, I'm going to fucking walk through it. I'm going to Las Vegas in May. There's a big wrestling show called Double or Nothing with this new company called All Elite Wrestling. It's my new WrestleMania, whereas WrestleMania was that thing, the only thing left on my bucket list. I took it off many years ago because it's just a different show now, a different thing, and I just don't care to do it. And in May, essentially what was my WrestleMania when I was a child is Double or Nothing. And it's a lot of money because like staying in Vegas ain't cheap. It's a 4-day event and there's a lot of shit to do. And I don't even have tickets. I booked the flights and hotels and like I'm balls deep in this motherfucker. Tickets aren't even on sale yet. I don't even have tickets, but it's there for me. And I'm just at a point in my life where my dad's passed away, my mother's passed away, all the grandparents are gone, 4 to 5 cousins have gone. Like, it's like, fuck me, man. Do it now. Like, do it right now. So that's what I'm doing, man. I'm trying to stay positive, and I'm just trying to like live life and not someone else's view of how I should live life or what should make me happy. Like, if fucking going into goddamn debt, like, if you're going to work the next 4 years of your life working overtime so you can spend a weekend doing the one thing that you've always wanted to fucking do, I don't disparage you one bit. I say do it. And if you don't want to do it, if you want to save all your money and that's the life you want to live, then fuck, I don't disparage you either. Fucking do it. But I would certainly encourage anybody out there, if you're thinking about doing something or there's an opportunity for you to possibly do something and it's something that you've always wanted to do, make it happen. Fuck wanting to do it. Make it fucking happen. Because you can. I did it. And I shouldn't have. And it was dumb. Don't go into debt to go to like the Super Bowl and then blame me. Have a plan. My wife is very good with money. I'm not. I assume she had a plan and that's how we paid all these things off and whatnot. I felt like I was maybe giving bad advice at the end there. Go to Aruba. Whoa! YOLOs and shit. Because at the end of the day, even if you live to be 120, if you didn't do anything, if you don't have any experiences, like if you can't go, man, I don't think I can give you the top 10 best moments of my life because there's too many. Like if you can't do that, what the fuck did you live for? Like what was the point? Sitting on the goddamn porch. But maybe that's your deal, man. The best 10 moments of my life, every goddamn one of them was sitting on the porch. I saw a shooting star go by, or I saw a fucking squirrel in a tree. If that's your thing, sit on the fucking porch. But man, that ain't for me. And honestly, if that's your thing, fuck it, man. Go sit on some other porches.
Yeah.
Like go somewhere and try somebody else's porch out. I bet you'd find that sitting on a porch in another environment is just as sweet, if not sweeter. The world's not that much different. If you closed your fucking eyes and went to Canada where they play those hockey tournaments and you opened them, you wouldn't know that you're not in the town you live in now. There's some shops that are all closed and boarded up. Like you start to figure it out because in Canada, everything, the stores are just what they are. Like if they sell chicken and beer, the name of the store is Chicken and Beer. Maybe it'll have the name of the guy who owns it, Rick's Chicken and Beer. It was great. You drive by like fucking tires, Dave's Tires. This is fucking John's Paper Store. It just says what the fuck it is, except for Tim Hortons, which is a goddamn lie. But I digress again. I'm off on some side shit. Live your goddamn dreams, but don't go to Tim Hortons. That's the takeaway from today's podcast.
Okay, so I was a member of the View Askew message board for about 45 minutes.
Like I said, man, it's you found it at the ass end of it. It was not a pleasant place.
I did. That's where I got in. So I don't even know how I stumbled upon it, but I had seen Clerks once, years before, but I was a bigger fan of Mallrats. And so when I found it, I was super excited and I went on and it cost $2. I remember that. It was $2 to become a member.
You caught it at the real ass end of it.
And I think the $2 was so that there would be less what we call now trolls on there. So I paid my $2 and I made my username SteveDave47. And it was just like, nobody said, hi, welcome. What they said was, why is his name SteveDave47? And then the other person said, because that's how many dicks he sucked this morning. And I was like, and I'm out.
Yeah, if you came in at the $2 mark, my name on there was Tennessee. That's what everybody called me except for Jason Mewes, who called me Texas. I don't think it's because he thought that I was from Texas. I just think that he thought that my name was Tennessee or whatever and just fucking got it wrong. So he thought that my mother had named me Texas. I'm pretty sure. So he would call me Texas, but everyone else called me Tennessee. And I also have an innate ability to do this as well. For as good as I am endearing myself to certain people, I'm just as good as making the opposite side of that coin hate me. Much like the Tell 'em Steve Dave, well, we'll just leave it at a certain group of Tell 'em Steve Dave fans. They despise me with a passion. So they're not the first. They like to think that they're the originals. There's not. There are people to this day on a Kevin Smith, quote unquote, backup message board who, for many years before the Tell 'em Steve Dave, what I'll call backup board group, was claiming that I have throwaway accounts and that I'm pretending to be other people. There was a group doing it way before that. You think I would have learned my fucking lesson. But it's that sort of group of people, these hardcores that had been around since like 2004, when the message board was as OG as it could be. They were very fucking entitled. Very entitled, arrogant, egotistical, cunty. And most people on that place didn't have sort of the gift of gab and the wish to jab. And I would go at all of them for everything. Even stuff, like I would die on fucking heels that I had no business on. Like shit I didn't even believe in. Just because it was those people saying it. Because I just fucking detested them. And they detested me, and it made me a horrible person and a worse person. But not for nothing, at the end of that day, I'm still hanging out with all of the cool cats, and those motherfuckers are nowhere to be found. So I win, you fucking cunts. But at the same time, see, here I go again. I'm falling back into this fucking, which is hard to do when you tell the story. And not for nothing, I'll be fine when we stop talking. But you see how easy it is to fall into that mindset where you just, these fucking cunts, you fucking cunts. Fuck. When I look back at it now, and I'm not trying to tell an entertaining story or even sort of telling the same story, because that's the story I've told several times to several people because it's happened to me and it was very prominent in my life. But like if I was to tell that story a different way, like from 2019, Brian, I would probably say I was just as culpable in the toxicity of that Kevin Smith forum because I have mental health problems, obviously, and I can't help myself sometimes. And I think these people probably had some issues, depression, loneliness, problems going on in their life that we don't sort of talk about those things. We just shit on each other. So I would say that when you came in at the $2 mark, that forum had been ripped apart by people like me and people on the opposite side of people like me. It was definitely a 50-50 split. And like Kevin Smith had no fucking time for it. So he's like, that's what we did, man. We went in there and a bunch of fans started arguing about shit. This is what I don't like. This is what I don't like. And this is what I think people should do. And this is how I think people should act. And then the one person that we were there to endear ourselves to and to be around and to spend time with went, well, fuck this, man. I'm leaving. And now he's on Twitter and he's much, much harder to get a hold of. You're probably not going to find a situation where a group of people are hanging out with Kevin Smith at his house in LA again when it's just a group of fans. It's probably never going to happen again because that environment doesn't exist anymore. You get more attention with shitting on something than you do. So like back in the day, if somebody came in and they were like, I don't like Chase and Amy. And I came in and I was like, man, here's all the things I love about it. They'd be like, stop shining his balls. Fuck me, man. So you're a ball shiner, or you have to just sort of live like that angry, that shit that I don't want to be a part of anymore. It's a perfect fucking full circle example. Like before there was Twitters and everything, like we killed Kevin Smith's message board. But I say we, me and all the other fans that were on it with our bullshit because we were more important than everybody else. Folks like you who were trying to get in from the outside couldn't. We forced them to put up a paywall, and then it just seemed like everybody was actively trying to keep new people out. It went from the most loving place ever to just everybody fucking sparring with everybody else, man.
It sounds like the actual internet.
Yeah, and it didn't used to be that way. Whenever everybody could log on to a central server, shit was fucked. When we used to have to, we had to call somebody's house, and that motherfucker had to pay for an extra phone line. And you had to log into it. Like, everything was cool then, man. when it was like 8 people.
Yeah.
Now there's 1 billion people. And it's just like, that's just the reality of it is, if I was to invite 1,000 people to my house and they were all like Back to the Future fans and we all loved Back to the Future, which I do, it's my favorite movie ever. And I had this big Back to the Future party and I invited all of these Back to the Future people there. Somebody's going to steal some shit from my house. Like, it's fucked up. But if you, like 1,000 people are there, one of those people is going to steal some shit. Maybe more. But that's not going to stop me from having my Back to the Future party. So I just have to figure out how to live life and sort of minimize my interactions with the people who are still in DeLoreans. So, you know?
That makes 100% sense. What I want to talk about right now, Brian, is your podcast, Maxwell's House. Let's just assume that you started that podcast because you were a fan of other podcasts, Tell 'em Steve, Dave, and whatnot, but that inspired you to start your own podcast a few years ago. And when that happened, I jumped on board. You sent me a flash drive with all of your back catalog on it. Do you remember that?
I don't, but anybody that ever asked me to send them anything or do anything, I definitely did it. Because I still am to this day fascinated by anyone who wants to listen to me talk. It's real weird for me with timelines for the podcast because the first podcast that I ever did, I listened to this one that is called Smodcast, and it had a few episodes, and we had just gone and played a hockey game, and I'd met this young cat, and we played hockey together, and he was real funny, and I enjoyed his company. And I was listening to a Smodcast, and I just started thinking to myself, like, I could do this. Like, the conversations that Ryan, my buddy, and I were having, like, they're as relevant as anything that anybody else is talking about. I'm familiar. I'd taken computer classes. I'm familiar with recording audio and editing audio. All you need is 2 fucking microphones. It's not that hard. And my buddy got trapped at an airport on his way back from a hockey game. And I was at home. I just got home. It was late as fuck at night. And he was trapped. I'll never forget it. He was trapped at the Florida Hollywood International Airport. And I just found it fascinating that he was stuck in Hollywood. And I said, man, that's a sign. Like, let's do it. Let's record a podcast right now. I had to go to work in, I don't know, like 6 hours. Hadn't slept in days because we're this hockey thing. So he finds a corner on his phone and he calls me and we record our first episode of a show called Will You Sign My Cast? And we did about 30 or 40 of those, and we had a big falling out over money. We sold out Kevin Smith's Smod Castle in LA, and that was our last show. He's doing well now. I think he's producing some stuff and whatnot. So doing real well. Good for him. Super happy for him. Glad to see he came out on the other side of that good. Because it's like, again, man, fucking I have this ability to just blow things up. I'm trying to do it different. But the Maxwell's House thing came after we split up. Brian Quinn from Impractical Jokers, I was chatting him up and I was like, I need a name, like a podcast name. What am I going to call this? And I sent him a bunch of suggestions that I thought were real clever. And he was like, all of those suck. Just use your name. Just call it Maxwell's House. So the name came from Brian Quinn. My buddy Warren Stanley from the hockey group did the art for me. And I did it for a while and I got real depressed and I just stopped. So there was like a year or 2 hiatus. And then I started it back again. That would have been right around the time where you came in on, if you were hearing them with Dave or if I was doing them sort of solo at the beginning, that was sort of the comeback. And then I got fucking super depressed and bothered by a group of people who just like, fucking hell, man, they broke me. There's no other way to say it than they broke me. I just had nothing left, man. I didn't want to be told that I sucked anymore. It didn't matter how many people told me, like, you're great, you're funny, you're hilarious, your stories are great. We're like-minded. I love your take on this. Like, I couldn't take people going, your voice is stupid, you're a hillbilly. You're like, one dude like sent me a message and said, that's why your kids are retarded. Because I have 2 kids with autism.
Jesus Christ.
And which is going to happen. Like, if you want to get in entertainment and you ever want to become popular and stuff, like, man, just know people are going to say the worst things. They just want to hurt you. You know what I mean? It's probably because they're just in a real bad way themselves. and maybe just nobody's loved them lately or helped them out. Like, I think everybody, I really do. I think everybody sort of has an other side and a redemption story to them and whatnot. So I'm trying not to judge that particular guy too much. But some anonymous guys, that's why your kids are retarded. So it broke me, and I stopped doing it again. And here recently, I came back again. I think 3 or 4 episodes I've done now, and a couple of them have my kids on there. A couple of them have my old buddy Dave, at Duncan Dave on Twitter. You can find him talking a bunch of angry white guy nonsense. He's one of the reasons I had to quit Twitter. Like, I love this guy. He's one of my best friends in the world, but Jesus Christ, it's just all this political shit, this rally and this motherfucker. Like, who fucking cares, man? You can fucking read about the shit that's happening in the world and feel plight, and you can not tweet about it. You can do that. I don't give a shit, man, unless you got 45 million fucking followers. Tweeting something is not changing the world. You're not changing anybody's mind. You're not doing shit. You're wasting time. However long it takes you to type out 140 characters, you've just wasted that fucking time. If you'd have put that cat picture on there, somebody would have seen it. It would have made their day brighter. They would have been happy about it. Your time would not have been wasted because that would have carried on. Butterfly effect. You know that movie with Ashton Kutcher where he stabs his goddamn hands to wake up because he's reading his daddy's journals? It's pretty much just like that. It's nothing like that, but you get it. And not for nothing, when he wakes up, he has scars on his hand. But that shit don't make no sense, because if he did it when he was a kid, he would have had the scars when he went to jail. Butterfly Effect is a good movie, but if you focus on dumb shit like that they messed up on, you'll ruin it. Like, I wish I didn't know that. Whoever the fuck pointed that out to me, fuck you. Like, God damn it. Why do I have to know that the stormtrooper hit his goddamn head? If I noticed it and I saw it, great. Awesome. Stop pointing shit out to me, man. Everything's fucking flawed. And it's my fault because I searched these videos out. Top 10 flaws in movies that made it to the final cut. I don't give a goddamn that they took a car out of Lord of the Rings. People mad. It was in the original cut. They should have left that car in. No, the fuck they shouldn't have. If there's a car in your Hobbit movie, you take the car out. George Lucas can do whatever he wants to with Star Wars. He didn't ruin Star Wars by changing the cut of the film. You can still watch the other one. Our lives were not ruined. I'm one of those people. I was like, you ruined Star Wars. How in the fuck did he ruin it? It's a different version. You can't ruin the old version by changing it. It makes no sense. Why are we so angry? Why is my generation so goddamn angry? I'm sorry, George Lucas. You're all right.
I'm sorry, George Lucas.
Real, man. Like, all the hate that dude had to endure because he made Jar Jar Binks, which ain't that bad. I super enjoy that first movie. God damn. Why are we so angry? Everybody's just so angry, man. I think it's because of traffic. We have to drive places and sit in traffic. Nobody used to have to do that. Nobody worked 40 miles from where they fucking lived back in the day. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to work. I'll be there Wednesday. See you guys next Sunday. Yeah, no, like you fucking worked where you lived. Goddamn, it's like the fuck. You wake up, you go to work, come home. It took like 20 minutes. Motherfuckers commuting on subways for 3 hours. Of course they're angry. Traffic, man. That's what's to blame here. So I need y'all to delete traffic and your Twitter apps and just try to eat less. And Butterfly Effect, boom.
And an apology to George Lucas.
Now, I already did that. He don't deserve to. Let's not get it twisted. He sold that shit to Disney. You fucked up, George. You didn't have enough goddamn money. I'm just saying, I'll apologize for the one thing, but goddamn. I think he's like on the flip side of that. George Lucas got to be sitting at home right now, like watching what they're doing, going, man, goddamn it.
Probably.
Just goddamn it. And even the new Star Wars are great. People are like, fuck the Star, man. We used to be like, oh my God, they're making a new Star Wars. I never thought this would happen. This is fucked up. Oh my God, they're making 3 of them. Oh, fucking celebrate. Fireworks. Shit, popping champagne. 3 Star Wars. This is great. Now we're like, there's too many Star Wars. This is bullshit. We're saturated with Star Wars. No, we're not, man. We need more Star Wars. TV shows, Christmas specials, all that shit. All the Star Wars. And if they're not for you, don't fucking watch them. I don't like the animated Star Wars fucking cartoon Clone Wars because of the animation style. But a lot of people, that's their favorite shit. Everybody loves everything. Look at The Room, that goofy ass movie. That's everybody's favorite movie. That's not supposed to be a thing, but it is when you're just happy about stuff and you don't spend all goddamn day pointing out why it sucks. You watch The Room with 40 people, it's going to be one that's like, I don't get it. Tell that person they're not your friend anymore and ask them to leave. Say, get the fuck out of my house. Leave the Tostitos and get the fuck out of my house. His name's probably Garrett or some shit like that.
Oh, man.
Garrett never understands anything. He's like, but there's not any trolls in it. There's only goblins. God damn it, Garrett. Who invited you? Fuck.
So,
the people named Garrett.
So, yeah, apologies to all the Garretts out there.
There's many fine Garretts and Harrisons across the world. That's like my go-to name when I'm shitting on somebody is Garrett. Or I don't have anything against Garretts or Harrisons. Y'all just have names that seem like your parents gave you too much money.
Nice.
I've never met a poor Harrison. Nobody named Garrett lives in a trailer. They're like, fuck it, man. You named me above my pay grade. I'm moving out at 16, getting a job. You have expectations when you name a motherfucker Garrett. Like me, Brian, no expectations with a Brian, especially with an I. Like Brian's with a Y, they're like, you got to be an engineer. Brian with an I, they're like, you're probably going to be a loser. It's great. Low expectations, man.
Nice. So one of the things that your Maxwell's House podcast did, I mean, I know you were really focusing on kind of the negative parts of it, but one of the positives for me was you read, I guess, a post or a statement or whatever from Billy Dead, who was a member of the Deadettes at the time, and her name is Angela Lisi, and you read it. I mean, it was her words, but you read it, and it was such a moving piece of art, I thought, that I reached out to you because I had a podcast with a friend of mine at the time, and I reached out to you and asked if I could play you reading it on that other podcast, and you said, that's fine with me, but ask her. And I asked her, Angela, and she was cool with it too. And then on that same episode where we played you reading it, we interviewed her a little bit, and she's just the super sweetest person ever. And when I started this podcast, I interviewed her again.
Angela's the best. Not for nothing. At TAMA Chick on Twitter. She's the most fantastic drummer you will ever hear in your life. And not for nothing, I'm sure she talked about it when you interviewed her. Meteorologist. Super smart about the weather and shit.
She worked for the National Weather Service for almost 20 years or something crazy like that. If y'all didn't listen to that, go back and listen to the Fascination Street podcast episode with Angela Lisi. It is awesome, and it spun off all these other things I'm about to tell you. So from you, Brian, I got Angela Lisi, and then from Angela Lisi, I got Raylan Nelson, and then from Raylan Nelson, I got Hannah Fairlight, who is a musician and an actress as well. From Angela Lisi, I got Stephen O'Reilly, which was her drum teacher. Yes. And Stephen and I are friends now. And from him, I got Jesse Vest, who was the bass player for Days of the New and Tantric. From Stephen also, I got Kevin Hale, who has a podcast in Louisville, which is basically about the Louisville pop culture scene. And from Stephen O'Reilly, I also got to interview Angie Aparo, who is a phenomenal singer-songwriter. His stuff has been covered by some of the most famous musicians in country music, Faith Hill and
Tim McGraw.
Yes. Tim McGraw. Thank you. Good
I
job.
know Nashville. I've only been here for my whole goddamn life.
So because of you, I was able to speak with all of those people, and most of them I'm still friends with. So thank you very much, Mr. Maxwell. I appreciate that.
That's amazing. That's great. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and there's very few things that I remember because I don't go back and listen to anything that I've ever been on unless I'm editing I just recently did an episode of Tell 'em Steve Dave, number 398. Haven't heard it. won't listen to it. So people will be reminding me of, they'll send me like obscure things, and I'll think to myself, I must have talked about that on that episode. Because I don't know, it's just weird to me. It's just something I don't like to do because I put too much thought into stuff. I wished I'd have said this that way. When in reality, to speak of it like in wrestler terms, I had a great match. I know I had a great match. Everybody's telling me I had a great match. But if I sit down and watch it, all I'm going to see is the stuff that I did wrong. But I remember that particular podcast. She had written, because there was a lot, and there still is right now, there was a lot of hate and violence going towards the lesbian and gay community, transgender community, all these things. There's like I'm not sure who all's in the letters and whatnot. So just this hate for everything. And she wrote this, she being Angie, who is married to a beautiful woman named Megan. She wrote this very poignant and well thought out, I don't know what you would call it, essay. And I just thought it was fantastic. And yeah, I didn't have anything to really talk about that week. That was the one thing that stood out to me. So I just read it on the show. And it was one of the, if not the thing that I got the most feedback in response to. There was another thing that I did. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was about this character named Tinker Stokes. And I told this story about this guy that I'd met named Tinker Stokes. And maybe a year later, like I revealed that it was a story that I'd written because I was thinking about maybe doing comedy or getting into acting or trying to do writing. And I wanted to see if I could write and perform something and people hear it and go, that's fucking insanity. But at the same time, at some point you have to go, like, that wasn't real. Like I wrote all of that. So when I did the reveal that I had written that it was a story, essentially it was a 30-minute radio play that I had written. I just got so many emails and responses and shit. It was like, that's brilliant. Like I was 100% sold. Like, that's brilliant. We loved it. So that's sort of, that's the thing that I sort of hang my hat on. Podcasting wise, there's another one that my mom passed away recently. There's one that I did with my brother and my mother that I'm super, super partial to.
That was my favorite episode.
Yeah, it really lets you, if you took a deep dive into all of the shit that I do and you hear all the stories, when you go back and you listen to that one with my mother, it just all makes sense. You go, oh, okay. I get it now. Never had a chance, did you, guy?
That was a really good episode, man. I'm sorry to hear about your mother. Sorry about that.
Yeah, man. It's unfortunately, I'm at a place in life where just everyone has died except for a handful of people. So I had a good 3-day period where it just like fucked me up real bad. But I'm honestly sad to say that I've dealt with so much death close to me, the people that I love the most in the world, death, that it just doesn't affect me that way anymore. It's very easy for me to move on from it. And it's, like I say, it's not something I'm proud of. It's not something that I actively tried to do or to, like, I'm going to push these emotions. I just think that at some point, if you kick a tree long enough, eventually your leg just gets so hard that you can't feel yourself kicking the tree. You know, the damage is still there. It's just you can't feel it anymore. And I think that's sort of where I'm at with life, unfortunately. I imagine that will change with my wife and children. I would hope that it would change. But I'm also not ignorant to think that it's a possibility that it could be like, well, fuck, man, this is just what life is. Am I going to dwell on this loss or am I going to focus on what I have left and making sure that the time spent with what is actually here is what the kids these days would call the best life? Am I living my best life? It's what I'm going to try to do this year, man. 2020, though, fuck that, dude. We're going straight back to depression and anger.
Good job, buddy.
Season, baby.
Oh, goddamn. That's going to be rough.
I'll be getting there some presidential type shit, man. You got to get down in the dirt. You got to get low. Goddamn slang some mud on a motherfucker. You can't even watch TV without getting angry. Especially around here. God damn.
I bet.
You be watching Full House and they'll be like, do you hate Mexicans? No. What? Fuck. What? No. What? No. That's a true story. Ah, the South.
All right. Now, I want to talk about 2 more things before I let you go.
You got it, boss man.
I want you to tell me about this party that you throw every October at your house.
Ah, yeah. So this all stems from the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast. They have a fictional, well, it's not fictional, it's real, but I mean, it's fictional in the sense of they're not a gang, but we have a comic book gang called the Four Color Demons. And it's a silly thing where, everybody has sort of camaraderie and whatnot. And me and a few of the cats from my area, we sort of formed a chapter, because that's what you do when you're a motorcycle gang. Sons of Anarchy was real big at the time and shit. So, we formed a chapter of the Four Color Demons, right? It's silly how, into it we were and whatnot. We got little vests and patches and shit, and they would come over and we'd do podcasts and we'd hang out and whatnot. And I decided, podcast doing real good at the time, I should say. I'd done some Tell 'em Steve Dave appearances, had a lot of listeners. And I said, you know what, fuck it. Life's going good right now. I just bought this house. Everybody come and let's have a Halloween party. Halloween is my favorite sort of holiday and whatnot. Anybody that wants to come, here's my address. Let's come party. And I assumed that a few people from maybe around the area would show up. And we had people from Alabama, Kentucky, Georgia, New York, New Jersey. Somebody flew in from the UK. This massive, just massive party. I got real drunk. And I gave away a lot of cool shit. It was wild, man. I was just drunk. I was like, where'd you come from? He was like, I came from Chicago. And then I would snag some shit off the wall. Here's an autographed Kevin Smith poster. It was fucking nuts, man. And I had so much fun doing it. I decided to do a second one, and less people. Podcast wasn't doing as big. I'd stopped making trips. I'd really stopped advertising myself and trying hard because I was kind of in a depressive little funk. And it was this nice, smaller group of people, but it didn't seem like everybody was super interested to keep it going. So I actually took a year off the next year, because it's a lot of fucking effort and planning and shit that goes into these things. And then, we were talking about, my mom passed away, and I got YOLO as fuck. And I said, we're going to have the goddamn party again. And we're going to have a live band play, and we're going to shoot fireworks, and we're going to fucking go insane. I'm going to do a stand-up comedy bit, and it's going to be fucking brilliant. And we did all of those things. Fastest 5 hours of my life. I did the comedy bit, went really, really well. We had Taco Mouth play. Angela, the drummer that we talked about earlier, that is her band. And they played the party, had no business playing it, but she's a really, really good friend of mine. Did me a huge favor, her and Erica Sellers, the lead singer, Sean Hammer, Flip Cooper. Love you all. Just brilliant. And it was midnight 30, and I got old-ass neighbors. I don't live in a town where you're just allowed to shoot fireworks. I think it's against the fucking law already, much less at fucking 12:30 in the morning. So I forgot to shoot the fireworks, right? Because I'm drunk as fuck. And everybody's packing all their shit up in the car. And I said, oh, fuck, I forgot the fireworks. And they was like, nah, you don't have to do that. It's so late. I said, fuck that shit. And I went out in the middle of the road and we shot fire. It was crazy too, because it was a really good one and it went forever. My neighbors were super pissed. But yeah, that was the third one. The fourth one, I'm not sure what we're going to do. I want to do one, but I feel like the down south version has been done, and I'm hoping somehow, harder for me because I'm based in Nashville, I'm hoping to do one closer to New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, possibly. So more of the people from the north can have an opportunity to come and sort of hang out, because it's a really great community, the Tell 'em Steve Dave community. There's a few shitheads, but they don't come to stuff. They just sit on the internet and complain about it. If they do come to stuff, they're not going to complain. They'll pretend like they're just like everybody else. You know what I mean? So beautiful, wonderful community. I'd like to do the fourth one up north. Not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to pull it off financially. I'm pretty deep into this May trip. And like I said, I just got back from New Jersey. So obviously that shit costs money. But also at the same time, man, fuck it. Spend money, make money. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Save a bunch of money? Fuck that. My kids are smart. I bought property. I'm leaving them that. Like, fuck am I going to do? Make more money for them? That's just going to ruin them. You got to make your own money. Go to college. Take care of me, goddammit. That's what I told my kid. I did it, man. Like, fuck, man. You got this house. You can have it. But you have to go to school. You got to be smarter than I am. You got to fucking make more money than I can fucking give you. Don't be satisfied with whatever I can leave. I'm going to spend this shit. Goddammit. It's weird. I see these old people and they're like, their kids are like, you're cutting into my inheritance. Fucking shut up. Your inheritance. It ain't yours, motherfucker. They're still alive. What's wrong with you? You're cutting into my goddamn inheritance? Why don't you just walk to your parents and go, hey, please die. You're going on too many cruises. I need you to die so I can invest in Bitcoin. Fucking jerks. Fucking jerks.
All right, tell everybody where they can find Maxwell's house, because you're still producing new episodes, right?
I am indeed. Fuck me. I don't know. Badboardy.com. I think there's a link. It's like maxwellshouse.blogspot.something. I tell you what, go to twitter.com/smodfan, SMODFAN. He'll tell you everything you need to know. He's a genius. Do all these extra things. That didn't make it easy at all, because that's not helpful to get people to listen to your stuff to make it easy. All right, what I'm going to need you to do is go down and get a drug test. I'm going to need you to mail that motherfucker to Albuquerque. I'm going to need you to wait 3 to 7 days. Do not contact me until day 8, motherfucker.
Or you can just scroll down to the show notes of this episode, and there will be links to all of Brian's social media tags and a link to Maxwell's house.
There you go. Links in the description.
Brian Maxwell, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. It is a pleasure to finally get to speak with you. You know, like I said, I've been a fan of yours for years. So, again, thank you very much for making this happen. And is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about?
Nah, man, I think I pretty much covered my entire life in 18 things that you didn't ask me about. Everybody, thank you for listening. And like I said, just try to keep it cool. We're all a little bit on edge these days, you know what I mean? There's this Japanese wrestler named Tetsuya Naito. And he was sent off from Japan to learn how to wrestle in Mexico. And he went down to Mexico. He was immediately met with racism because he was Japanese. And the Mexican people would take their fingers and they would hold their eyes wide open at him because he had Japanese eyes. Instead of getting mad about it, Tetsuya Naito took that and made it his thing. When he goes to the ring, he holds his fingers on one eye and he holds that eye open and he raises his fist. And that was his way of telling those people, you don't own me. I own you. Your hate is not stronger than my ability to turn it on you. He's turned that into shirts and hats, and I own all of them. And when he goes to the ring to wrestle this aggressive style match that he's about to have to entertain everybody, he has this thing that he does where right before they throw hands, he'll sort of do a little sidestep and he'll say tranquilo. And that's just to let that guy know, hey, I know we're about to fight, but just stay cool. So everybody listening, 2019, I'm not saying don't stand on heels and fight for what you believe in. I'm just saying that if you can, try to stay tranquilo.
Stay tranquilo and do not walk around and hold your eyes open in front of the Asian American folks.
Nah, you don't want to do that. Unless,
or even the Asian folks.
Japan, you can totally do it. You just got to yell Destino and be at a New Japan wrestling show.
Only in that very, very limited situation are you allowed to do that.
That's how my kid asks for goldfish. He wants goldfish crackers. He'll hit me with a Destino. It's brilliant.
All right. Brian Maxwell, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Kiss those babies and Tabitha for yourself, not for me, because I'm married and that's your lady and your kids. So
you said it already, man. You owe me child support, motherfucker.
You have a great day, man. I'll talk to you later.
Right on, brother.
Bye. Hey guys, this is Steve Owens from Fascination Street Podcast here with a very important message. I'm awesome. I bet you thought I was going to say something else, but nope. What's important here is that I am awesome. I started this show because I truly believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear those stories. In the short time I've been doing this show, I've interviewed actors, directors, writers, inventors, podcasters, musicians, pro athletes, Olympic athletes, actual war heroes, even a Bond girl and a luthier, whatever the hell that is, and of course, regular people. From people who wanted to be stars but never gave it a real try, to big company CEOs and people who got to meet their favorite president. I love getting to meet and speak with people who have a story to tell. I feel like everyone does, and it's my job to get them to tell it. You never know who my next guest will be. An Academy Award-winning actor, a platinum-selling musician, or your own mother-in-law. But one thing is for certain, you will be fascinated by their story. So come take a walk with me down Fascination Street. You can find Fascination Street Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, FascinationStreetPod.com. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.